We live? I'm over here grooving, bro. We're live. Are we live now? I'm over here
Yeah, you
dancing,
live.
grooving. Yeah, we live. All right, welcome. Wake up, wake up. I know you're brushing your teeth, wiping the cold out of your eyes, but we appreciate you here. Episode 2, August the 12th, Thursday. We got football today, and this is Wake Up with Ray G, my producer, co-host. Jordan Richards is struggling today. It's day 2. And this guy's struggling. He's rushing me every damn morning. Ray, jump on. Where you at? I'm ready, bro. I'm up at 5 a.m. I'm getting ready. You don't got to worry about me, man. I'm going to be here. I just need you to relax. I don't need you to be Kevin Adams and have a damn heart attack every 5 seconds. We're going to be all right, Jay. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm good. I appreciate you in the second show outing me for being tired. This is Wake Up with Ray G, so I am a man of the people. So I am waking up with Ray G. But I'm ready to go, man. I'm excited for this show. This is going to be a loaded one, especially with us talking about some of the things that we missed from yesterday, and especially with the news we saw yesterday in regards to Dak Prescott. So with that being said, let's get into the morning run.
Wake up! This is the morning run.
Run, Forrest, run!
Oh, man. You touched on it, man. Okay. So there was a tweet that was it the Dallas Cowboys Twitter? Let me pull it up real quick.
Yeah, it was the official
was
Cowboys Twitter.
Okay, the official. At first, because this happened late. This was I saw it at 10 something last night, so I was tired. And at first, I thought it was a beat reporter, but this is the official Dallas Cowboys Twitter. It is not a setback, and it's not a reason to worry. But quarterback Dak Prescott is planning on getting another MRI. And then the byline or the title of the article, I didn't even open the damn article. Dak to get another MRI, still eyeing September 9th game. On the show sheet, it just says, fuck me. Because, listen, you can't tweet that out with him being out. He's not even throwing passes. I guess he practiced yesterday, threw some balls, things, he's looking well. But you can't tweet that out and tell the people not to worry. I am slightly worried. I am not panicked. It's not DEFCON, whatever the highest level of that is. We ain't there yet. But I'm definitely not worried about Dak having a second MRI. Now, maybe this is proper or proper operating procedure, medical procedure. I had a second COVID test. I had COVID, took the test positive. They told me to quarantine. I felt good, but I went to get another test just to make sure I was good. Maybe this is just a test to make sure Dak is good. Everything is good with the shoulder, but I am slightly concerned about this, Jay. And we didn't show the Dak Prescott graphic yesterday, but pull this up because we've got to revisit everything that we talked about on the first episode. I mean, everything as far as Dak comeback player of the year, Dak's over on passing touchdowns, Dak's over on passing yards. If he's hurt and he ain't all the way there, I think we got to make some adjustments to that. And I think we're going to know because these are future bets. So we'll know if he's not on track to play September 9th, the opening game or whatever. I may have to adjust some of that. I'm just telling you that right now I am slightly concerned because it went from no issue to, second MRI. Is this, I know you're a doctor, Jordan. Is this standard procedure here with medical stuff to get a second MRI?
I mean, it's not a big concern, but the big problem really is you also heard he's working out with the Texas Rangers. He's going to hang out at their facilities. That's already not a good sign because if it's just a regular football injury, maybe some shoulder soreness, he'll be okay. But when you're going and hanging out with the baseball team, as soon as you hear a football players hanging out with baseball players, hanging out with pitchers, that is not a good sign because when baseball players have injuries, it's always the shoulder. It could be the UCL. These are all the heavy muscles they use when they're throwing their pitches. And oftentimes they're out for long stretches of periods of time, not short. They need, multiple weeks off. They need time to fully rehab and they have to build the strength up and stamina back up in their arm. Now, in Dak's case, he's a little bit different. Quarterbacks don't typically do that. Their strength is always there. But this is absolutely not a good sign. And I think as far as I'm concerned, the comeback player of the year, I think he could still win it on limited time. But the one that he definitely can't is in regards to his passing yards prop. And so we never got to that yesterday, but I'm going to pull that up right now for everybody so they can see it.
Yeah.
4,700 yards is a lot. Like, he's going to have to play 16, 17 games if he's going to hit that number. So how do you feel about that, knowing that he's still got to hit basically 4,800 yards to hit his over?
I mean, I don't feel great about it. I'm trying not to overreact and panic, right? But I mean, it is a quarterback, and I know it's a completely different injury coming off of the ankle, and now the shoulder or the lat. Hasn't been throwing. I think he was throwing yesterday. I'm pretty sure he was. But, I mean, if he's going to miss a game, or if this is going to be, and I don't know if it's something that lingers. I don't know. But if there's any sort of hesitation or reservation by the Cowboys going into the season, I probably would not feel comfortable taking the over. And, FTN, we got him projected at close to 4,900 yards. And I'm with you. I think he's going to need 16 games to get there, 15, 16 games to get there. So if this injury puts that at risk at all, or him missing time or flaring up or being an issue, I think it's going to be a problem, man. And it's not just Dak Prescott, because we didn't get a chance yesterday to get to the Cowboys wide receivers. It impacts them as well, man.
Yeah, and so let's start with the top of the food chain. Right now, it depends on who you ask in terms of this one. Who is the top guy? For me, it's still Amari Cooper, right? Amari Cooper is the guy right now. Everyone, whether you're talking about fantasy ADP, whether you're talking about breakouts, whether you're watching camp videos, it's all about CeeDee Lamb. But actually, when I was diving into the numbers yesterday, Amari Cooper actually has the higher over-under of the two wide receivers this season at basically 1,100 yards clean. And at FTN, we have him projected for 1,070. Now, he just recently came off the PUP list, which is great to hear, but how are you feeling about Amari Cooper heading into the season? And, of course, now that we know that Dak's injury could be a little bit worse than we thought, even though the Cowboys are telling us to RELAX.
Yeah, so Coop is one of those guys. What's crazy is the dude is still hella young. I think Coop's, 26, 27 years old. So he's still in the height of his prime. I believe he's got the same damn quarterback as CeeDee Lamb. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Dak, just like he's going to throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb, he'll be on the receiving end of Dak Prescott passing pass attempts. I feel good about Amari Cooper. I think he's one of those players where a lot of times, especially in the fantasy football space, we chase that youth, right? We want the young guys to anchor our teams, and Cooper's not young. He's not old, but he's not young. So I think he gets discounted and diminished a little bit because of that and how great and awesome CeeDee Lamb looks. But if Dak is healthy and Amari Cooper's ankle, which he's off of the pup now, they said he's moving well. I know people like Marcus Mosher are like, dude, there's nothing good and talented CeeDee Lamb is. But that's where I'm at with Amari Cooper, Jay.
All right, so now let's move over to CeeDee Lamb. This is the next guy. This has been your guy for, I think, almost 3 years. When he was stepped on at Oklahoma, you really fell in love with him. You really loved everything he did. Now, his number's a little bit lower at 1,050, but I wanted to look at both his receiving touchdowns and his receiving yards, because with how much he could potentially be used in the red zone, I think there was few receivers in the league that today we say we want them to get the ball in the end zone over Amari Cooper because of how skilled he is at bringing down the ball in contested catch scenarios. Adam Thielen is kind of the go-to guy as far as that concerned, but I think that CeeDee Lamb could easily overtake him for that crown, potentially even this season. How are you feeling about CeeDee Lamb at 1,050 and then his receiving touchdowns at 6.5, and then even the receiving leader plus 3,000?
Okay, listen to me right now. This, and I know I'm not just comparing wholesale stats from one season and saying because he did this in one season, he's going to do it again. But as a rookie with no preseason, abbreviated training camp, no rookie mini camp, none of that, and catching passes, and we talked about this yesterday, from 4 different quarterbacks, 3 of them who are stank, and I'm saying that, I'm trying to be polite here, but Dalton, Danuki, and Garrett Gilbert are not very good. He almost had 1,000 damn yards in his rookie season, 935, 5 touchdowns on 74 receptions. Dak is back. CeeDee Lamb, I think he smashes the over on the receiving yards and the receiving touchdowns. And it wouldn't shock me if he actually led this Dallas team in receiving. Now, I say that, and I still am bullish on Amari Cooper. I'm still bullish on Ezekiel. This offense is just set up to thrive. So when looking at his receiving yard totals for the season, I'm over on that. Receiving touchdowns, he's going to be a big play threat from anywhere. CeeDee Lamb can score from anywhere on the field. He's a yak monster. He did that at Oklahoma. We saw some of that last season. And in the red zone, the way that he can contort his body, remember that grab that he made versus Minnesota last year? I think that may have been catch of the year for me. I know a lot of people look at one-handed grabs and say, holy shit. But when you watch the way that he contorts his body and can put himself in position to make those receptions, I think 7 touchdowns, again, with an extra game this season, I think that's easy, man. Like, I think CeeDee Lamb gets that. They have 2 touchdowns in a game within the first couple of weeks. I mean, you'll be coasting to the bread. Now, receiving yard leader for the season, I probably wouldn't feel comfortable with that, man. I mean, he's still, if he were Devontae Adams, where there was literally nobody else around him besides the tight end and some ancillary players, I'd feel a lot better. If he had, Patrick Mahomes and that speed of like Tyreek Hill to where those 80-yard bombs are within his range of outcomes every damn week, I may feel a little better about that. But I do think with Gallup being there, with Zeke and Pollard doing their things out of the backfield, with a mobile quarterback like Dak Prescott, I wouldn't feel comfortable with CeeDee Lamb leading the NFL in receiving yards, but I feel really good where his lines are right now, man.
Yeah, so you just touched on Gallup, and I think he's kind of the forgotten man in this offense, right? 875 yards, and actually getting juiced right now in the books to the under, which is interesting because I believe he had even over 1,000 yards last year. But now people are talking about CeeDee Lamb is going to be that bona fide number 2, see a larger target share, and kind of how does that look for Gallup? Now at FTM, we still have him projected for 921 yards, but how do you feel about Gallup? Like, I know that you're still bullish on him once he leaves the Cowboys, but for this season, he's still there. He's still on that team, probably the third fiddle, competing for targets with CeeDee Lamb, with Amari Cooper. Probably not going to out-target those guys, and then depending on how much they use Zeke, it's hard to say how much work we're going to see from Michael Gallup this year.
Yeah, I like Gallup, the player, and I think he is going to be paid handsomely. Dallas said that they're not going to extend him or not talk about contract during the season, but he didn't have 1,000 last year. He had 1,100 the year before. He had 843 last year on 59 receptions, and he had 5 touchdowns. So I think this is sort of like spot on for Gallup. But if I'm as bullish on CeeDee Lamb as I am, if I still think Amari Cooper is an 1,150, 1,200-yard receiver, ceiling, somebody's going to suffer. And Dallas, not only do they have 2 other talented wide receivers and running backs that can catch the ball, they've got 2 competent tight ends. They've got Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin. Jarwin missed the entire season last year, pretty much. So this is one where I probably don't feel comfortable with Michael Gallup hitting that line. I know we have him projected for 921. And again, I think this, if you are a little more bearish on, Amari Cooper, whether that's from a health standpoint or just talent, you ain't feeling Coop, drops balls, whatever the case may be, then I think Michael Gallup would be the play right here if you don't think Amari Cooper's going to be 1,000-yard receiver. But I just don't see a world in which their $100 million wide receiver isn't being fed the ball. And I think a lot of people are just discounting Amari Cooper because of how talented CeeDee Lamb is. But I do not like 875.5 for Michael Gallup this season. But I love the player, fantastic talent. I think he's going to be really good if he does end up leaving Dallas.
All right, so let's switch gears now because the king of college is here. Wake up with Ray G. Talk to me about these college football rankings that came out a few days ago.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise. College football rankings just got released. Preseason top 25 coaches poll, and there's no shock. The national champ Alabama Crimson Tide sitting at the top, followed by Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Georgia round out the top 5. With Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Iowa State, North Carolina, and Cincinnati in the top 10. Some other notable teams in here. You got Oregon at 12, LSU at 13, USC at 14, You've got the new Steve Sarkisian-led offense with one of the most talented running backs, Bijan Robinson, in Texas at 19. We get to see some of the smaller schools in here, right? Coastal Carolina at 24, Louisiana Lafayette at 23, and then Ole Miss at 25. I mean, here's the thing about college football, and we're going to dive into that in this show. And from an NFL draft standpoint, who's going to be picked first, second, third, quarterbacks, national championship odds, Heisman Trophy odds. I mean, it's no surprise that Alabama's at the top. They got 63 first place votes. Clemson returning one of the most talented young quarterbacks in the country, DJ Uyunglele, massive Dante Culpepper type clone out of Clemson. No really shocks for me except Iowa State. Iowa State's interesting, and I know that Preston Johnson and I, Sports Cheetah on Last Word Cheetah, we talked about Iowa State and the potential for them to make a run inside the Big 12, push Oklahoma, push Texas to win that Big 12 title, and if they do that, they're in the college football playoffs. They got a good offense, man. So to see Iowa State ranked aggressively, man, top 10, it's going to be an interesting season because while I think Alabama's going to be dope, I think there's going to be a little more competition. They got a young quarterback. Clemson's got a young quarterback. Oklahoma's got like the quarterback, but Oklahoma loses 2 or 3 games a season that they have no business losing. And Georgia, I mean, they got the big transfer, Eric Gilbert from LSU. They've got monsters on the outside, no George Pickens, but I'm excited for college football, and we are going to dive into that on this show during our segments. I mean, we're coming at you damn near every single day. So we'll talk a little bit about everything, but that was some notable news that dropped yesterday, but I don't think there are any surprises at all inside, the top 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams of these rankings, man.
All right, so now let's dive into your boy, Shoddy B, Rashad Bateman. Shoddy B, baby, right? So he had an injury, and so we found out finally, we were kind of waiting to see the results of that test, and he's going to be multiple weeks, the Ravens are saying, unfortunately. So we're not going to see the super talented wide receiver from the University of Minnesota, a guy who we thought could elevate Lamar Jackson, that Ravens offense, to the next level and really be that alpha for Lamar. So how are you feeling about Shoddy B now, kind of going into the season?
Not great. Again, if you're going to be injured in the preseason, if you're going to be injured before the season, I'd rather it happen earlier in training camp than week 3 of the preseason. But you saw the video of Rashad Bateman like being helped off the field, a noticeable limp. They're saying it's a groin injury. I've been watching a lot of medical professionals talking about the potential for if it's just like a low level groin injury, 3 to 4 weeks. If it does something with the core and sports hernia, even longer, can linger, surgery. It sucks, man. And this is going to have a ripple effect because right now Marquise Brown is hobbled around with the hamstring. And when you've got those speed guys, it seems like those damn hamstrings are always a reoccurring issue. Miles Boykin hurts. This is not good. Sammy Watkins, he's going to blow up week 1, and then we're not going to hear from him anymore. This is not good for Rashad Bateman. It's not good for Lamar Jackson. It's not good for any of the pass catchers outside of like Mark Andrews, but this does bode well, in my opinion, for the running game, both Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. So when we get to the AFC North and we do those kind of divisional breakdowns, we'll definitely dive into this because this is, and I tweeted this a while ago, Rashad Bateman is probably the most talented wide receiver Lamar Jackson has ever had, from his time in high school, his time in college at Louisville, and then so far in the NFL. So right now, we've got Rashad Bateman, or we don't have Rashad Bateman, but if you look on the FTNBets.com prop shop, Bateman's over-under is at 600.5. So he's got to get 601 receiving yards. Healthy Bateman operating as the 1 or 2. I think we all feel good about the over on that, even in an offense that doesn't toss the ball around the yard a lot. But with this groin injury and the potential for this to linger, I think the under is probably the more prudent play if we're talking right now, today, instant reaction. But this is it just sucks when you've got these talented guys and you got shit like this going on. So right now, not feeling good at all about this groin injury for Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, so one thing to mention, right, and so that people kind of understand, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this maybe later, but it's important to point out that Brandon Ayuk had a similar issue. He had a hamstring injury in the preseason last year and in training camp, and he actually missed 4 games last year and still went over 750 yards. So I don't think it's inconceivable for Bateman to do that. He's, of similar talent, first-round pick, very high recruit, dominated at a young age, all the things we like to see from these super talented wide receivers. These are the reasons why we like them going forward in the NFL. So 600 is a very beatable number, but like you mentioned, on that Ravens offense, it just seems super unlikely that he's going to walk into this situation and still beat that number. With this injury, even playing with Lamar Jackson, it's a bit of a hurdle as far as the receiving yards go. And that's why I think you're totally right to be kind of fading Bateman as far as that goes. Now, I want to get to some positive news. We got some positive news yesterday, thank God, because in training camp season, it's always negative. But we heard Quentin Nelson, Carson Wentz are on track, apparently. The Colts are wishy-washy with their timelines, and they downplay everything, but apparently they're going to be ready for week 1. Now, what does that mean for the Colts? And most importantly, what does that mean for our boy, Jonathan Taylor?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, you got Wentz out there in this little number 2 red jersey showing off a little of the belly button and the stomach. They're saying he's walking around with no limp. Quentin Nelson was at practice. No boot, no limp. And he said, I'm playing week 1. I'm going to be ready week 1. Everything is on track, I guess, for Carson Wentz to be back week 1s. And I think Colts fans in particular can breathe a sigh of relief, because I promise you, whatever bullshit you're seeing out there about Sam Ehlinger and Jacob Eason, don't buy it. Neither of them are good. They both stink, and they'll wreck that entire offense if those are the starting quarterbacks. So as much as we don't want to believe in Carson Wentz, or we've got our reservations and hesitations about him, I promise you he's a hell of a lot better than the alternative, which is Ehlinger and Jacob Eason. So if Q is back, if Wentz is back, and if they're 80% of what they could be, this is good for Jonathan Taylor. It's good for Michael Pittman. It's good for the Colts offense, and I'm happy to see that the surgery went well, and we're going to get those guys on the field. All the people who were panicking about Jonathan Taylor, and I'm not sure if after that news happened, because I wasn't paying attention, if any of his lines moved, as far as his rushing totals. But if they did and dropped down a little bit and you can still find somewhere to take advantage of that, I would do it, because this is good for JT. It's good for the Colts. Not so good for Jalen Hurts, because if Carson Wentz plays and he plays a certain amount of snaps, they get that first-round pick, and the Eagles have 3. Not good for Jalen Hurts as a branch off of this tree, but very good for the Colts, very good for Jonathan Taylor, man.
Yeah, and so I want to switch gears now, because I know we don't talk a whole lot of baseball. I know baseball's not really your thing, but
I like baseball. My son plays T-ball. I'm getting into it, man. I like
you're
baseball.
getting into it, right?
I liked the steroid era. I'm sorry, I'm not a purist. I love the Mark McGwire versus Sammy Sosa race to 61 or whatever it was. Like, I was captivated by that. When Manny Ramirez was doing his thing, when the Red Sox with Ortiz, and then, you know what I'm saying? I like Barry Bonds. I like to see the long ball. They say chicks dig Ray G digs the long ball. So
Ray G digs the long ball. I like it.
I dig the long ball, man. I dig it. So I pay attention to baseball. You shit.
All right, so now that we clarified all that, your boy, I think it's the first jersey you ever bought in baseball, Fernando Tatis Jr., coming back from his shoulder injury. He's been injured a lot this year, and so there's been reports that he's potentially moving to the outfield. Now, you see, this is a pretty good catch. For a guy who grew up a shortstop, played shortstop probably his entire life. He's still an athlete. He can still get up. But look at that, man. Fernando Tatis Jr., full extension in the outfield. The problem with Tatis is he's hurt his shoulder 5 times this season. Even Pro Football Doc did a report on it in April saying it's going to keep happening. He keeps getting injured. And we've seen this before with some really, really high-end athletes. Like, people who don't know, Bryce Harper, current star outfielder for the Phillies, he was recruited and drafted as a catcher. But the problem with catchers, they have short lifespans in Major League Baseball. So this is a way to prolong his career, to put him in the outfield more, to have him not diving all over the infield trying to get balls and throwing out all kinds of weird angles. This is to protect him for the long haul. How do you feel about your boy, Fernando Tatis, potentially moving to the outfield and not playing shortstop anymore?
Um, Nothing. I mean, I don't really. I mean, I feel all right. He probably dropped that ball too. Just throwing it out there. He probably dropped that. But I mean, he's an athlete. He's dope. He's fun. He's bringing excitement to the game. So if this is what San Diego feels is best, then good for Tatis. And I hope we can. I hope are the Padres in position to make the playoffs so we can talk about them because I'd love to see playoff Tatis do his thing. Are they in contention right now?
Yeah, they're in the
Or are
race
they
right now. They're trying to win the
in the
NL
race?
West. The San Francisco Giants and the Dodgers are still. I think both are still ahead of them, but they need Tatis back, and I think he's going to be fine. Like he's a guy who's super talented. He just has to kind of come over these shoulder injuries, and he'll be just great. But now transitioning back to football, we got some games today, right? We got some games, and we're going to be talking some preseason. Everyone gets excited
Yeah,
about the
baby.
preseason. It's
Yeah.
rookie season. We're getting hyped again. But the first game, or actually both games are at 7:30 Eastern time tonight. So let's start off with the Patriots and the Washington football team. The Patriots, they got your boy, Mac Jones. He's going to be
Hey man,
an interesting guy to look at this season.
Yeah, I was about to say, get this damn
Don't
Tatis.
worry, man. I
image
got
up. There we
you.
go.
I got you.
Get
There's your boy.
Get Mac on the screen, baby. Get Mac Daddy on the screen. There we go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Set it up.
We got Mac Jones and the Patriots against the Washington football team. I believe in your notes here you have the football team favored by 2 and the over-under of 36. How are you feeling about this? How much Mac do you think we're going to see? He'll probably be the second QB out there if we see Cam Newton a little bit in the first quarter.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe some people in the comments can tell me. I tried to look before the show to see if New England put anything out about Cam not playing. It's still the first preseason game. I'm not sure how Belichick does things if the Steelers, because right now Cam Newton is the starting quarterback, I believe. He should be for right now. So if we see Cam, I think we see Cam for here's the thing, man. The preseason, they only have 3 preseason games. So I think some coaches are going to take the approach of we got to get these guys out there. And then some are like, we don't need to see these players anymore. I know Bruce Arians had a quote the other day that Tom Brady, all of those fucking guys were playing in the first preseason game for the Bucs. So I'm looking in the comments. Stone said no news yet. I think we see Cam for a little. If Cam is starting, I could see them rolling him out there for 3 or 4 series, maybe the first quarter, because this is, whether people like it or not, it's a quarterback race. It is a quarterback battle between and I know Belichick is saying Cam's our guy, but we've also seen him, roll with the rookie when they had an all-pro and Drew Bledsoe that got hurt and came back, start the legend of Tom Brady. So if Mac Jones outright wins that job, and from all accounts, it's a tight race. Both quarterbacks have had their positive moments, and both of them have had their negative moments during training camp. But I think we see quite a bit of Mac Jones in this one. I think we're going to at least see a quarter of play from Mac. And the thing is, New England's pass catchers, they don't have any just Julio Joneses out there that don't need preseason. So we're going to see these guys with Jacoby Myers, with Nelson Aguilar, with N'Keal Harry. We're going to see all of these guys play. And I think this is going to give us at least a good look at in-game live action with actual hitting. Quarterbacks can get sacked. We wear lesson, and 36 is a little more appropriate. But with those quarterbacks, if I had to say right now, would I bet the over or under on that? I think either backup, Mac Jones and Taylor Heineke, could put their team in position to score a couple of touchdowns in this preseason game. So if you're just asking me, then I'd probably take the over. And I see Jordan Backus in the chat said both are expected to play tonight. And I'm assuming he's talking about Cam and Mac. So this one is going to be fun for a lot of reasons. I know a lot of fantasy gamers out there are trying to figure out what the hell to do with that quarterback situation, who to invest in. And there's a lot of unproven pass catchers for the New England Patriots. So I'm really, really excited. We get some football. We get to see Mac. We get to see Cam. We get to see these pass catchers. And then on the Washington football team side, Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin. They're veterans. I mean, they're second-year players. Terry McLaurin is a third-year player, I believe. One of the best wide receivers in the NFL. How much is he going to play tonight? I think this is going to be an interesting game. I'm very excited about the preseason slate tonight. I think we get to see a little bit of football for at least a quarter or two, maybe even three, depending on how long Mac Jones plays into the game.
Yeah, man. And so let's talk about our next game. And we're really excited about this game because one of your guys is actually Jalen Hurts. For people who not that into Ray, don't follow Twitter that much, Ray's been super into Jalen Hurts. He's been crying to me all offseason because he traded him to me in one of our Campus to Can leagues. He wants him back. He's getting sad. He's like, oh, Jalen Hurts is probably going to win that job. So we're going to dive all into Jalen Hurts. But this week we got the Steelers playing the Eagles. And so let's kind of see what happens with this game because we're going to see more Najee Harris. We're going to see your boy Jalen Reagor. I believe we're going to see Devontae Smith as well, who we've been dying to see finally in this Eagles uniform. So what do you think about this Steelers versus Eagles game? It's going to be a really exciting one. It's basically a pick'em with a 35-point over-under.
Okay, so I don't think Devontae Smith is playing. I mean, the dude hadn't practiced in 2 weeks, so I don't think Smith is playing. But this is one where from the Pittsburgh start, let's start with Pittsburgh, right? We got to see them in the Hall of Fame game versus Dallas last week. And a lot of people were like, why the hell is Claypool playing? Why is Deontay playing? Why is Najee Harris still in the game? Mike Tomlin's going to play his guys. He's got to see what he's got. And, Najee Harris is an interesting one because he was the first running back taken in the draft. I think we get to see a little more Najee. Ben Roethlisberger apparently is not playing, so they'll roll with Mason Rudolph as the starting quarterback. We see a little bit of Dwayne Haskins. It'll be interesting. Listen, if Deontay and Claypool played in the first preseason game, then I fully expect them to play in this one. And right now, I think do we have the over-under for that one? I'm not even sure. Oh, yeah, 35 points, and they got Philly favored by 1. From the Pittsburgh side, I think for me, it's all about Najee Harris. I want to see how Najee Harris looks in his second live action, probably a little more carries. I want to see if Juju Smith-Schuster gets on the field. I doubt it. Don't know. Haven't seen any news from there. But watching Claypool, Deontay Johnson, and just how Najee's utilized, right? We've seen him catch a lot of passes at Alabama, and then we saw him deployed in a pass-catching role in the first game. I think he had 7 touches in the first quarter. And when you're looking at Najee right now, plus 1,100 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, his regular season rushing and receiving touchdowns, the over-under is 8.5. So between rushing touchdowns and receiving touchdowns, can Najee hit 9? I think that's very realistic. I think that's very, very realistic considering the fact that when they get inside the 5-yard line, there's zero threat of the quarterback rushing. So you don't have to worry about some of the things that Ezekiel Elliott has to worry about or J.K. Dobbins when you have these dual threat quarterbacks, Kyler Murray in Arizona. I think he's the goal line back. He's the hammer. He's going to be the guy using the goal line. And then as well in those short area, screen games, lining him up in the slot in the goal line, his ability to flex out at wide receiver. I think that over-under 8.5 receiving touchdowns. I'd take the over on Najee Harris there. And then his regular season rushing yard total. What do you think? Have you looked it up? Do you know what Najee's regular season rushing yard total line is right now? Do you have a guess?
I would probably guess somewhere around 950, maybe 1,000 yards. I feel like they're probably light on Najee because no one really knows exactly how he's going to be used. But I think we're just very bullish on it, and we see already the potential for that Le'Veon Bell style role, the heavy workload, all those things that we would love to see from Najee, even in year 1.
Okay, don't lie. Did you look that up? There's no way that you...
No, I didn't look it up. I swear I didn't look it up. What's the line? Tell me the line.
975.5.
Oh, see? Just under 1,000. 1,000 yards. No, I didn't look it up. 1,000 yards for a running back is reasonable.
976.
Yeah, but you're saying he's gonna hit at that. If you think he's gonna hit 976, you think he's gonna get to 1,000. So but I think that's a reasonable line for a rookie, first round pick. Travis Etienne's not getting a 975 line. There's no way. Javonte Williams is probably somewhere around 600, 700 yards. It's a lot for Najee to get 1,000. But I think it just depends on workload, right? What's his workload going to be looking like? But you know me, man. I love Najee.
Massive. I think he's a lock for 20-plus touches a game. 20. And I know we're talking rushing yards, but I think he's a lock for 20-plus touches a game. They are going to pound the shit out of Najee Harris this season. Like, they drafted him in the first round for a reason. For the past 2 years, the entire Pittsburgh organization has been talking about wanting to get back to Steelers football. That's what they've been, like, the owner, GM, whatever the hell his name is, Rooney, came out and said, like, we need to get back to playing Pittsburgh Steelers football, which means running the ball and not throwing it 900 times a season, man. So I 975.5. Yes, you're betting on him getting 1,000 yards. It's the volume. He's going to get the volume. So while the offensive line situations are duly noted, I understand that. He's the type of back that's going to continue to get better. Like, I see him, you know how like Derrick Henry just gets warmed up and he's going and he's going. And by the end of the season, he's full steam ahead while everybody else is beat down. I think that's a fair line. I think Najee Harris has a very good opportunity to get, 976 rushing yards on the season. And then his over-under touchdowns, rushing and receiving at 8.5. I feel good about Najee. I feel better about him getting 9 touchdowns than I do 1,000 rushing yards. But you don't draft a running back in the first round to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, and you're not going to give him every opportunity to carry that team. And Ben is in year 18. He's old. He's slow. His arm is decrepit. They're going to have to run the ball. So I see Najee Harris having a big season. And tonight, it's going to be interesting to watch him play against Philadelphia and what that Philadelphia defense looks like. Are they going to roll out their guys? Philadelphia, they are the most interesting team, one of the most interesting teams in the NFL, because you think, like, there's no way they're that bad. I'm seeing people talk about them battling with the Texans for the number 1 overall pick. And I've asked a lot of Philly fans, like, is Philly like that bad? Are they that bad? Because what I saw last season, I didn't think they were that bad. They had a lot of unfortunate circumstances. We talked about Dallas last year and their offensive line just being wrecked. Philadelphia had the same thing. I think they had the highest offensive line combination in the league last season. And then they had a mentally screwed up Carson Wentz. And let's get this straight about Jalen Hurts. Going into his final college football season, I think he was viewed as a consensus, like, day 3 project quarterback. Like, nobody that was on the first or second round radar, nobody was talking about Jalen Hurts as that, because, early in his Alabama career, he made his hay on the ground running the ball. And then he transfers out of Alabama and he goes to Oklahoma. But if you look at Hurts every season of his collegiate career, he increased his completion percentage. He got better and better as a passer. And coming into the NFL, he was always viewed as, at least in my opinion, as a work in progress. Somebody that you don't want to throw out there from day one. He's not ready to be an NFL starter. And then when he finally got the opportunity to be the starter, it was the final 4 games of the season. Backup quarterbacks don't take any reps in practice. Like, they get a couple of reps here and there, but they just don't have time to evenly distribute practice touches between the starter and the backup. And Jalen Hurts was the backup. So a lot of people are judging him, okay? A lot of media, analysts, people in the industry, off of a 4-game sample size for a quarterback who probably had no business playing in year 1 of his rookie season. Now, the X factor in this situation is the regime that drafted Jalen Hurts is no longer there. You got Nick Sirianni as the head coach, completely different, philosophies. He still isn't named as, I don't know who's going to start the game. It may be Joe Flacco for all we know. So while I like Jalen Hurts, I'm also aware of the current situation in the state of the Philadelphia Eagles, that it doesn't seem like they are fully committed to Jalen Hurts at this point in time. So I think this is the game. Like, yes, I would love to see Devonta Smith play, but I'm not really concerned about that situation. I think we need to see Jalen Hurts. We need to see Travis Fulgham and Jalen Reagor and, this offensive line. We need this from a betting perspective, and I know the fantasy community is going to be dialed in to see how Jalen Hurts looks tonight.
Yeah, man. So you went on a lot about Jalen Hurts, and so I'm gonna have to move this show along, right? And we're gonna get into Beat the Rush now and get into this Eagles team preview.
Wake up! This is Beat the Rush.
Get out of the way, jackass!
Okay, so I'm going to pull up the odds right now, and so Eagles futures. And it's funny you talked about them having being in competition with the Texans, because they're 16-1 to have the worst record in the NFL. Now, I do not think that they are going to have the worst record in the NFL, but, it's not terrible. If you really thought that Jalen Hurts was awful and you really thought they were going to be a bad team this year, it would probably be a pretty good bet, there's not too many teams that are in contention. And, every year one team kind of falters. Like last year was really the Falcons that, we thought they could be pretty good. They're always in contention, but they ended up with the 4th pick and they really just went into the tubes. So now that you're kind of seeing these odds for the first time, how do you feel about the Eagles as far as a betting perspective? Like, they're still pretty decent long shots to win the division. The New York Giants, when I pulled the numbers yesterday, even they're favored over the Eagles. So you think about the Eagles are actually they're in last place right now from a betting perspective to win that division, because the football team has better odds as well. Making the playoffs, they're 285, which, I don't really think they're going to make the playoffs. So even that's a pretty soft line for Eagles fans. And then you look at their win total at only 6.5. It's okay. I've seen some lower numbers, but 6.5 seems to be about the consensus across the books. And I'm perfectly fine taking the under at plus odds. How do you feel about all this?
I'm still just trying to they're that bad, bro. The Eagles are I guess I'm jaded by, honestly, what was their record last year? I don't even know what their damn record was last year, but it's hard. I'm looking at this okay, Hurts, Miles Sanders, the Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver. I know they still have Brandon Graham, Darius Slay. I probably can't name Fletcher Cox, Steven Nelson. I'm trying to name Eagles. I'm trying to act like I know who's on that defense, and I have no damn clue. But it's hard for me to believe that they're that bad. 16-1 to be the worst team in the NFL. Okay, first of all, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the worst team in football. Did you see the Texans depth chart, unofficial depth chart?
Oh my God.
David Johnson is the 3rd string running back. Lindsey and Ingram's the starting running back. That's the team that I think is just.
And then so to touch on your part about the Eagles, they went 4-11-1 last year. So that's pretty bad. And I believe Wentz still led the league in interceptions. So, but the thing about the Texans that was hilarious, did you see that there was some report that they were trying to cancel training camp? And I didn't get into the full report, but I saw, I was in the Twitter comments, so someone pulled it up and was talking about how they were trying to end training camp early to save time. And it was just basically they were all in on the tank. They were all in on this tank. They didn't even want to have training camp. They were just forget it. So you talk about a team that's all in on Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell, whoever you want to go with. But let's dive. You were going on about Jalen Hurts. So let's dive into some Jalen Hurts right now, because I love me some Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to be great this year. And so I want to see kind of how you feel about these numbers, because rushing yards, pass yards, touchdowns, and then I think the best prop to look at with Jalen Hurts, depending on how you feel about him, is his passing touchdowns.
Okay. 650.5. So 651 rushing yards, 3,600 passing yards, 7.5 rushing TDs. I mean, if I'm in fantasy, I'm loving this, right? If you've got him, if he's the starter, and these are his totals, if he hits this, I mean, this is monstrous for fantasy football players. From a betting perspective, 3,600 yards with this receiving core. Oh, man. I mean, listen, if the progression takes place, and that's what we're thinking, that he's going to progress and be better, and we see in all these mixed reports, he looks good some days, he looks bad some days. I mean, that's what practice is for. Zach Wilson talked about that yesterday. I figure out what I can get away with in practice. I like the rushing yard total. That's aggressive. I mean 651, but I like that. The passing yards at 3,600 and a half. I think he's going to start, man. So for me, he should be able to hit that. I mean, he's got 17 damn games to do it. I feel good about that. I'm seeing people saying the under on the 21 passing touchdowns. If he's going to throw for 3,600 yards, oh, man, that's not a lot of passing touchdowns, man. He should hit the over, right?
Barely won a game, right? Barely won a game. And so the only thing of note that within these numbers, so the rush and the pass yards were basically dead even, but there was actually juice to the over. So you're getting a worse price if you go under on that 7.5 rushing touchdown. So a lot of people are betting on him hitting 7 or less in the books right now. But it was interesting to see this spread, right? That's why I showed people in case they do want to place these bets. MGM is betting on him to go over. Like the MGM bettors are actually putting their money on the over at 20.5. But on DraftKings, they have a much softer number for him to go over. So if you're betting on the over, you go to DK. If you're betting on the under, you go to MGM because those numbers differ by about 25 or 0.25 points, right? So it's interesting though. Like basically you get almost a free bet on Jalen Hurts, depending on how you feel about him on what side, because those numbers are so close. And I think 21 is more than reasonable for Jalen. It's basically won a game. He can have one good game against the Giants. He could even have 2 good games against the Giants that could easily propel him with a 3-touchdown game to get really close to this number. But I think to your point and to some bettors' points, there will be games where he may rush for 2 touchdowns and throw for none, which is a problem, right?
Yeah.
Which is a problem.
That's my concern, right? Because what do you feel more comfortable with? You know, when Philly's in the red zone, we're in the 5-yard line, 4-yard line, Hurts chancing it with a fade to JJ Arcega-Whiteside, or Nick Sirianni saying, snap the ball and just run up the middle. You know what I mean? Zone read and run. But I mean, 21 touchdowns, bro. Like that's gotta be obtainable. I mean, how many damn passing touchdowns did Jalen Hurts throw last year in 4 games? Let's see. Jalen Hurts stats. What did he have last year? 6 in 4 games and 4 interceptions.
Make this whole engine go. You know,
Okay,
he has the injury concerns, but let's talk about Devontae Smith.
Wait, hold
I
on,
think we
real
both
quick.
believe he's generational. He's going to be that good.
Okay. I'm digging deep in Jalen Hurts. Like I'm reaching now. I'm back looking at his college touchdowns.
Oh,
like,
boy.
Okay, he threw 23 as a freshman, and then he had 32 in his final season at Oklahoma. I'm really trying to make this touchdown thing work for Hurts. But bro, 21, he should be able to. I gotta just do that. I just got to pull the calculator. 21 divided by 17. It's 1.23 touchdowns a game. Jalen, get 2 touchdowns or a multi-touchdown week. I mean, shit. Okay. Devonta Smith, right? That's who we're talking about. First of all, I never called him generational, so don't put that in my damn mouth. I never said that. I just think he's a very good wide receiver. But this is blasphemous. 775 yards. Yeah, man. I mean, what are we doing here? He was drafted number 10 overall, coming off the greatest college football season for a wide receiver in the history of the game, in an all SEC schedule. Yeah, man, like over. We got him projected at 953. He's got 17 games. What are we doing here, man? Yes, I like Devonta Smith. He is the wide receiver 1 on this team. And when you look, what did Rager have last year? Last year in one of our buddies, Matt Harmon, Reception Perception, talked about Jalen Rager having one of the worst rookie seasons for a first-round pick wide receiver in the history of the game. He still had 400 receiving yards last year with no quarterback play, missing games, no training camp. He had 400 receiving yards. 775 for Devonta Smith. Over the rainbow, over the moon, eggs over easy. They're going to trade for Deshaun Watson. Well, if they trade for Deshaun Watson, I'm taking the over on everybody. But if Jalen Hurts isn't going to be the passer that you believe he's going to be from your model, your eyes, whatever you've seen, then you probably aren't very bullish on any of the Philadelphia Eagle passing weapons. But I just think that they drafted this kid for a reason. We saw him defy all odds, back-to-back seasons at the University of Alabama. And I think he's going to be the 1A, the alpha wide receiver that Philadelphia is looking for. He had his knee injury, a tweaked MCL. He's supposed to be out for 2-3 weeks. So I think by my calendar brain, he should start practicing sometime next week. I don't care. I have no concern over Devonta Smith. 775 smashed the over on Devonta Smith receiving yard totals this season.
Yeah, man, I love that. And just for some context for everybody, I was doing some diving into the numbers, and 5 wide receivers hit that number last season. And that's not even including Brandon Ayuk, who in 12 games put up 750 yards. So when you think about it from that perspective, there's a lot of things to like with Devonta Smith, especially with him being the alpha in that offense. If he's healthy, if Jalen Hurts is healthy, if they play a full 17 games together, there's no reason why he can't hit that. Now, Ray, you got about 5 minutes left. Is there one last thing you want to touch on with the Eagles or with anything else that's going on today that you want to hit? We didn't really skip over 2 things as far as the show sheet goes, but if there's anything you want to hit, and then maybe we get into a rant, maybe we just kind of close it out with how you feel about the games tonight. If there's any defensive players you're watching, things of that nature, how about you just let the people know anything else that you want to touch on before the show ends today?
Well, let's since we're on Philadelphia and the pass catchers and Jalen Hurts, let's just take a look at Rager's total regular season receiving yards total, which is at 675.5. So literally 100 yards less than Devonta Smith. Listen, I've got to separate bias and actually knowing the kid, like I know the kid. We'll see. I think this is something that I'd probably stay away from until I see all 3 preseason games. Like, I want to see how he's used. I want to see if Nick Sirianni actually rolls him out there with the ones, if he moves back to the slot. Is Travis Fulgham the 2? How are they going to deploy Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert? So 675.5 for Rager right now. I would not smash an over or under there. I would wait and see how preseason plays out. Devonta Smith, I feel real comfortable, very comfortable at 775 right now. I actually have that bet in. I think I'm 2 units in on that. So I feel good about Smith. I feel I need to see what happens with Rager because if there is a trade for Deshaun Watson, I'm pretty sure he'd probably be a part of the deal. So I'm just excited to see these guys play tonight because we are going to see some of these players that have been like the buzz of the football world since the NFL draft. Mac Jones, the next Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, this Konami code quarterback that can either propel the Philadelphia Eagles and convince them that he's the quarterback of the future, or is Jalen Hurts playing for a job somewhere else? So I'm just excited to see football tonight. Again, if there were any bet that I would take on this one, it'd probably be the over in the Washington-Pittsburgh game. But I have no conviction on that either way. So I'll probably just stay away from it unless EC, Elliot, Chris can give me one of them juiced up lines. But nah, man, I ain't got nothing else, man. Get into the rant, baby. It doesn't matter what you think. I'm going to shove that up there. You know what? All right, so this has absolutely nothing to do with football, but I got into a heated debate yesterday, and I need your opinion, and I want the people to chime in as well. Are you, Jordan, a soft shell, hard shell, or corn tortilla taco eater? Because I think the answer to this question really is going to shape our friendship moving forward. So I need to know, soft shell, hard shell, or corn tortilla? What is the optimal way to eat a taco?
Man, that's an interesting question. See, when you said it, I was thinking, but because I'm different than most guys, you know, I got to kind of decipher my opponent a little bit. I got to think, what's going in Ray's head? Did he throw the corn shell in there to throw me off? I'm a hard shell man. I'm not a soft shells are not tacos. Those are burritos. You know, like
childish.
If you think that if you think that soft shells is the way to go, I'm sorry. That is just no. Like, that is not a taco. That is a burrito masquerading as a taco. But like you said, actually, if you want to be like childish, maybe you want to eat with your kids or whatever, soft shell, go for it. But don't go to a restaurant and ask for soft shell tacos. No, now, don't get me wrong. I have had great soft shell tacos at restaurants. But, it's just how they serve them. I can't be like, hey, go in the back and make me a hard shell taco. But if I have my preference, I'm hard shell all day. How are you on that?
Yeah, see, the hard shell for me, I've had bad experiences. That shit tears up the roof of your mouth. You bite the tortilla, you bite the thing the wrong way, and it jabbing you in the gums. The only way to eat a taco is corn tortilla. And let me tell you how you do it. You fry this bad boy, both sides, fold it over, make your taco slot, and then you have a plate of Parmesan cheese right next to you. And with the oil still on the tortilla, you hit it, boom, 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 two sides. So now you've got this Parmesan and cheese infused taco shell, and you get the best of both worlds. You get the crispy bite of what you like from the hard shell taco, but then you still get the soft sort of texture that really just complements that crunch and that bite of the corn tortilla with the Parmesan cheese. I'm telling you, that is the only way. Nobody in here answered the question right. We see a lot of soft shell. You are all children. You are childish. Grow the hell up and start eating corn tortillas with your tacos. But that's my rant for the day. We are done. We'll be back tomorrow. Talk the rest of the slate for the preseason, review the games. Wake your ass up tomorrow with Ray G and Jay, man. We out. Peace.